We all have things we love to hate. This image is one of those for the whole Roberto Bigano group. Among the pigs, this is the hog, greedy, dirty and upsetting. So the story goes. When Davide was working on the first version of the instructional video, he bumped into this gorgeous shot. This is the Seattle Skyline by Roberto. He ran ALCE 200 on it and ended up with this. Respectable, I would say. But he was trying to enhance the detail in the skyscrapers, and he knew he needed a smaller radius. He thus went ALCE 20 and got this. I mean, this. We have an expression for that. A halo megastore, we call it. The reason? Oh well, blame it on the sky. The buildings are not called skyscrapers without a reason. They literally cut the sky visually. At the interface, halos will settle down forever. It would be ridiculous to hide the problem. It's there. Any other local enhancement would bring out halos, and we know ALCE is gentler than other methods. But when they are there, well, they are there. Other shots we've seen were mildly unfaithful lovers. Well, welcome to the beach, then. This is also an extremely difficult problem to fix. No channel in either RGB or LAB is really useful for a mask in this case, because there isn't a huge contrast in either luminosity or color. So Davide passed this on to us and said the famous sentence, "Seattle, we have a problem." When you're desperate, a bit of lateral thinking may bring you far. I thought, yes, this is an extremely difficult problem to fix, in 3-letter color spaces, but not in the one which has a 4th letter attached. So what I did was, view menu, game mode warning. And nothing happened then, as nothing is happening now. What does it mean? Well, it means that this image doesn't contain any color that CMYK can't handle. The technical lingo would say that this image doesn't contain any color out of the CMYK gamut. To put it simply, go to CMYK and the color won't change. Which CMYK? There are many after all. Well, in my case, the variety defined by my color settings, a typically European ICC profile called Fogra 39 for friends. But in practice, I don't think you may have problems in any reasonable CMYK space. If you had vivid blues, vivid greens, pastel colors, well, it would be a horse of a different color, literally. But no game mode warning means one simple thing. You can convert to CMYK and nobody will notice. Now, if you're a photographer, I know you consider this blasphemy. I want to show you once and for all that on images like this there isn't a problem on Earth. What I will need to do is bring the ALCE layer into CMYK. Let's try. Select it and duplicate layer. We're in Adobe RGB here, so we will create a new document. So select New as destination, name it ALCE Duplicate and hit OK. Now duplicate this image. Convert it to CMYK so that your default profile will be applied. And then convert back to RGB. My default RGB profile is Adobe RGB, so I will be back to the start. Let's rename this layer ALCE RCR, that is, RGB to CMYK to RGB. Now, duplicate layer. Select ALCE Duplicate as destination. And what you get is this. A file with 2 layers. At the bottom, the original. On top, the doubly converted one. Now, blending mode, difference. You already know what should happen. Any difference should show. I personally see black, but yes, I admit that there might be a little difference, so little that I can see it. So explore the image with the mouse and keep an eye on the info palette. Yes, there's an occasional change of 1 point in RGB. Yet the right part of my info palette is set to read LAB, and the values I get are 0, 0 and 0 in the L, A and B respectively. Do you know what this means? It means black as coal, starless, Bible black. It means no difference whatsoever. It means that there is far more variation induced by the noise in your camera sensor than the conversion. So, the belief that images like this are damaged by going to CMYK once and back is simply without foundation. So, back to the original file. Don't be afraid and just do it. Image menu, Mode, CMYK. At Photoshop's request, say you don't want to flatten the layers. Keep them as they are. The image stays the same and the halos too. Now, double-click on the ALCE 20 layer and open the Layer Style window. Do you see these 4 checkboxes, one per channel? If they're active as they are, the corresponding channel is active. Otherwise, it's turned off. Now, deselect cyan, magenta and yellow. This basically means only the black channel remains active. Where are the halos? Gone completely. Yet the ALCE enhancement is still there. Look, without ALCE, with ALCE 20. Again, off and on. Interesting, but let's try to understand why. Double-click on the layer again and restore the original channels. That is, make them all active. Let's have a look at each of them now. This is cyan, halos. This is magenta, halos. This is yellow, halos. This is black, no halos. That's the power of CMYK. A lot of contrast migrates into the black when you convert. The black is a very special channel which more often than not contains what we call the skeleton of the image. Also, it's usually completely white wherever there is an even mildly saturated color, as in the sky. And for this reason, it's less prone to accept halos than any other channel because it's so weak. Pre-press people know this extremely well. If you're in CMYK, the black channel is your first choice for sharpening. So, if you turn cyan, magenta and yellow off, you get the best of both worlds, ALCE enhancement and no halos. Now, stamp visible. You already know this command. Otherwise, when you go to RGB, the halos will rear their ugly heads because all the channels will be activated on your way back home. Now, convert back to RGB. You know, it's safe. This is what you had before going to CMYK. This is where we are now. And since we're at it, this was the original. Yes, the effect is less prominent in the version without halos, and that's the only price we need to pay. But I challenge you to bring out anything better than this on such a difficult image. Sure, you may painstakingly try to burn and dodge the halos if you wish. Good luck, and forget about the clock though. This technique was christened K-ALCE, that is, ALCE on the black channel only. Mind you, it works if your colors are not out of gamut, otherwise you will lose something in the conversion. This may be relevant or not, and in a few cases it can even be desirable, but be careful. Yet keep it in mind, a conversion a day keeps the halos away.